Hey guys, it's Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. It is freaking October. I am so pumped. As you can see, the jack-o'-lantern lights have made a return this year. I had to kind of dig around my house because we moved since the last time I was filming this video. So I was like, where the heck are those things? But I found them. The calamity was avoided. Not only is it my favorite time of the year as far as weather and good feelings, good vibes go, but this is my favorite time of year because National Novel Writing Month is coming up in November. October is super fun for a lot of writers because we kind of dub it Preptober. It's basically the time where we outline and prepare for our projects for National Novel Writing Month. And I am no different. I'm going to keep it really traditional this year and just do a regular National Novel Writing Month project, starting a story from scratch and writing a full 50,000 words in the month. I mean, if I'm successful. Last year was not my first time attempting National Novel Writing Month. I'd done it a couple times before and failed miserably, but I actually did finish last year. That was my very first time completing the full 50,000 words, and I was really excited, really proud of myself. It helped me overcome a lot of my, deep-rooted fears as a writer, fears that I couldn't accomplish what I wanted to. So it was just a really positive experience in my life. That being said, if you're somebody who hasn't finished a full length novel draft before, National Novel Writing Month is a great time to do that because you have so many people participating and everybody is just cheering each other on, and it's just a very, very positive and exciting environment. So if you've been on the fence thinking about whether or not you're going to participate, just jump in. The worst thing that happens is you don't finish, but you still have a ton of words written at the end of it. One word written in that month is one more word than you had written before. So just jump into it and don't second guess yourself. But on the other hand, I understand not everybody wants to do National Novel Writing Month for a variety of reasons. For some people, it's just not appealing. Some people don't like fast drafting. Other people are working on revising or editing for other projects. So it's your choice at the end of it. But if you've been kind of wondering whether or not you want to do it and you're just kind of nervous, I would say go for it. But if you don't actually want to do it, don't feel pressured by other people. You do whatever you want to do this time of year and just have fun. That's what National Novel Writing Month is about anyways. It's not about the actual numbers. It's about getting together as writers and accomplishing our goals. That was really preachy. I'm gonna stop that segment there and dive into the really exciting part of this video, which is when I get to talk about my project. So if you guys have been following my channel from the beginning, you know way too much about my project, The Network. I started it last year during National Novel Writing Month. I finished the full 50,000 words, but I didn't actually complete the novel until this July. It's really embarrassing. There were literally months where I didn't add probably more than 1,000 words to the draft. It was ridiculous. So I am a procrastinator, a master procrastinator. But now that first draft is done and I'm kind of in the revisions phase right now, I've got my original critique partner, someone I've known for years, and then I've got a new critique partner, Evie Redding, and then a quasi critique partner, Rebecca Rodriguez. So I have a lot of help with working on that, and it's been going really well, but I am kind of burnt out with it. For that reason, I'm very excited to be able to take kind of a step back from the network and jump into the second book in the trilogy. So the second book in my urban fantasy trilogy is called The Council. The network was a lot of fun to draft, but it was sometimes painful. It felt like pulling teeth because I had developed and outlined and thought about that specific part of the trilogy for so long that it was just kind of tiresome to pull it all out of me. Whereas The Council is a little more fresh. I hadn't put as much thought into it because a lot of my focus was on the first draft and then just on the overarching story throughout the entire trilogy. So I'm going into The Council with a much more fresh feel. I just have a lot more excitement because there's a lot of things that I don't know about this story yet, which is going to be a lot of fun to deal with. If you guys don't know already, each of the 3 books of the trilogy focuses on a specific main character of the trio and a specific group. So the first book, for example, focused on Stas, who is a former member of a faction of the Russian mafia called The Network. That's where the name comes from. The second book focuses on Fedya, who, of the three main characters, Stas, Fedya, and Finnegan, he is the most ordinary, the most grounding character of the group. Before Fedya was plunged into the magical world in the events of the network, he was living with and taking care of his aging mother. His mother was on pension, her health was starting to decline, so she really relied on him to earn the money, to pay the bills, and to kind of help her take care of the house. Fedya is the type of person who doesn't naturally like to take risks, so he's never been married. He's worked the same job for 10 years as of the beginning of the network, and he really just doesn't focus much on growth as a person. In many ways, he's comfortable where he's at, but at the same time, he's really disappointed with how little he's accomplished in his life. So, fast forwarding through the events of the network, coming to the beginning of the council, Fedya has kind of established himself as the father figure of our sort of odd group. He really cares about Finnegan and Stas, and he's sort of taken it upon himself to try to help them in any way he can. But even as Fedya tries to distract himself by focusing on strengthening the group he is now in, he really misses his family. He worries about his mother, who, like I said, he used to take care of, and he worries about his sister, who lives in Kiev and is finishing her doctorate at Taras Shevchenko University. Additionally to that, his sister has a child, his nephew, who he misses very dearly. So, like a lot of people, Fedya is kind of having a midlife crisis. He's going to turn 40 soon, he's separated from his family, and he just doesn't see an end in sight as far as escaping the chains of knowing about the magical world and not being allowed to see his family. Meanwhile, Finnegan's sort of secondary plot line, kind of more in the first half of the book, is centered around his desire to help Fedya go home. He really appreciates and admires Fedya and has grown to value him as a friend, and because of that, he really feels deeply the pain that Fedya is going through and wants to help him go home. So Finnegan, as well as a goblin named Senin, who you actually meet in the first book, but he gets a little more development in the second book, which I'm also excited for. I love Senin, he's a fun character. But Finnegan and Senin are kind of working behind the scenes in the first half of the book to try to convince the council, the government on the other side, to allow Fedya to return home as long as he doesn't reveal information about the magical world. And on top of all this, you still have the vampire hunting element. Finnegan and his team are taking contracts, they're investigating, there's still a lot of great urban fantasy elements. So it's not just a character driven story. There is a lot of plot, but ultimately I feel that it's a heavily character driven fantasy adventure, is how I would describe it, I guess. One other fun tidbit, which I am just dying to get to writing, is that you finally get to meet Finnegan's love interest. I won't say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil it. I feel like their romantic development is going to be really good if I pull it off. So I'll just leave it there. But I am really excited to have a little bit of romance in this book because there is zero in the first book. I don't know why I made that decision. It just didn't seem natural to have any sort of romance in the first book. Like, there wasn't any room for it when I was outlining and plotting and figuring everything out. It just felt out of place there. But in this book, it feels so necessary to have that romantic B-plot. And I've never written any sort of romantic plot or subplot or anything, so this should be fun. Or a nightmare. We'll see. You guys have no idea how many times I've had to cut and restart and try to re-explain things because I'm having to be very careful to not reveal anything that will spoil events that happen in the first book. That's the hardest thing about writing a trilogy but not, publishing the first book before you write the second book and so on and so forth, because to me, I already know all the events of the first book and it's very much well settled. Whereas the second book, it's all new and I want to talk about it, but I can't because you guys haven't experienced the first book. So I'm having a little bit of a struggle here. I hope that at least the premise is a little bit interesting to you guys, even though I wasn't able to explain a ton, but I hope I got my point across. Either way, I'm really excited to write it. I've been rambling and rambling, and I haven't even explained my Preptober plans yet. So obviously my first order of business in Preptober is to outline the council as detailed as I can. I do try to keep it a little loose because I think having an overly detailed outline for me personally can get a little boring, since I don't know, it just feels so rigid and that I don't get to be creative and spontaneous as I'm writing. So I have a good outline, but it's not overly detailed. So that's the main project for Preptober. But besides that, I'm really going to try to get at least one chapter of revisions done each week for the network. I forgot how to speak English. I think that's a reasonable goal. Hopefully I'll be able to accomplish it, but obviously if it starts getting in the way of outlining, I'll set it aside, because the most important thing is to prepare for drafting in November. I'm also going to be trying to read a lot during this month. I've got several audiobooks I'm working through right now. I've got the third Anita Blake novel. I think it's Circus of the Damned. Sorry, I had to remember the title because the title of the second book popped into my head first. But yeah, Circus of the Damned by Laurel K. Hamilton is what I'm listening to right now. I'm over halfway through. I also started listening to the first book of The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I think it's called The Eye of the World, but holy cow, I have not even made it through the prologue yet. And it's the audiobook. Like, I can just keep playing, but it's hard to focus on it because I don't know, prologues in general don't usually mess with me or bore me or whatever, but this one just feels like the biggest info dump, and yet simultaneously I have no idea what's happening. So I'm not invested at all. So I'm a little bored, but I think once I get through the prologue and maybe the first chapter, it'll pick up. Oh, and also it's 30 hours long. Holy cow, that is a long freaking audiobook. But I'm determined to at least get through the first book of the Wheel of Time series, because I feel like it's just a staple of fantasy and I need to experience and know about it. Besides those two books, I am currently reading a nonfiction book called The Coddling of the American Mind. It's basically about millennials, specifically iGen, and what created them, basically, their psychology and their worldview and all that sort of thing, which has been very, very interesting. And then, of course, I still have piles and piles of books from the library sale I most recently went to, and then library sales I went to last year, because I am a book hoarder. So I think that's everything for this kind of introduction to Preptober, my national novel writing project for the year, and all that kind of jazz. I think I will do a more in-depth like outlining video if you guys are interested, just kind of showing my process, where I start from and how I like fill things in. So if you're interested, let me know down in the comments and I will make a separate video about that. As far as the rest of the month is going to go, just expect a lot of fall related content, planning related content. I am planning a really fun video that I hope I create this month, which will be about a specific aspect of writing craft that I'm hoping will be a really fun video. I've never really done a writing craft video before, so stay tuned for that. As far as November goes, I'm just going to say it right now and tell you that I will not be uploading a vlog every single day. I cannot do it. I'm not a superhero like the rest of you crazy people. It's enough to try to write the amount of words I need to write every day, because holy cow. I don't know how everyone else manages their time so well. I'm beginning to suspect that all of you guys have time turners, and somehow I just missed the meeting where those were passed out. I'm hoping that's what it is, and it's just not that I'm bad at managing my time. Okay, that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're excited for my Preptober content and my content during National Novel Writing Month, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Ask me any questions down below. Anything. I love getting comments. I love meeting new people. If you've got an AuthorTube channel, let me know so I can go subscribe to you. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing week. And as always, happy writing. Bye.